Hello, you multi-mango munchers. Chomp, 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 chomp. I'm Ralphie in the Bothy with Ralphie Review 989 Extras. Additional whisky-related content from the Bothy to you. But before we get any further, a big malt mention thank you to Arijit Das for providing today's malt mention, which is always there to open up a Ralphie review here from the Bothy, somewhere in the middle of the Irish Sea. Cheers. Now, being an extras, I'm providing you with extra content, extra perspective, extra information, extra opinion, extra overviews, an extra attitude as well, to help accelerate your learning curve, and specifically to help you make decisions faster on what you want to buy that represents the combination of good quality and relatively good value for money, particularly when the global rates of tax on whiskies tend to be going up. And the rate of tax duty, this is customs and excise duty, which goes to the Crown, because it's a Crown department. Just want you to understand that. It's just the reality of it. And what happens is when they raise the rate of duty on a bottle of spirits in the UK, so you look at a bottle of 40% blended whisky, and you're probably not aware that £8.35 of the price, so at least half the price, if it's just a standard budget whisky, if not more, is actually going just purely in tax to an organisation which has done absolutely nothing to contribute to the economic value in the production of that spirit. And on top of that, when the cost of duty goes up, this taxation raised by the Customs and Excise Duty Department, it also gets subject to value-added tax. So in fact, by raising one tax, you increase the income of another tax, which is put on top of it. Simply because, and I love to keep you reminding you of this, because you think about it, you really think about the implications of this. In the UK, such is the complicity of the general population, and we all want to do our best to obey the law, even when the law is not fair. But you have a particular commodity, alcoholic beverages, which are subject to customs and excise duty for the Crown, because it's a Crown office. And on top of that, they add tax called value-added tax. And in fact, when you buy the bottle of spirits, you're being taxed on the tax you're already paying. So I ask you, is this potentially a form of fraud? When it's the authorities and they've got all the power? No, because they can do what they like. And so long as we keep that in our sights and don't be naive about things, see things as they really, really are, then it helps direct where we spend our money, what we buy, and what we're prepared to pay. And also, importantly, if we decide to simply buy less whisky because of the increased taxes, then what happens is the Customs and Excise Department, despite increasing the rate of tax that they're subjecting to alcoholic spirits to, they have that raise negated by the fact that people are saying, this year I'm buying less alcoholic beverages. In fact, I'm going to spend more time not drinking alcohol at all, and therefore Customs and Excise start to lose money. And you never hear about this. It never gets discussed, and it never gets mentioned. But it's a form of mind trap. It's a form of illusionists' tricks, and it's not the only one. It's not the only one that's put there to set traps for us. Something that the whisky industry does, and it's not just the Scotch whisky industry, far from it. The Tasmanian whisky industry are famous for it. So is the Japanese whisky industry. They certainly do it. And the idea is basically, we will present our full bottle of whisky to the British market, and I'm talking specifically about the British market, which I know the best, as a 50 centilitre bottle and not a 70 centilitre bottle. So in other words, we're going to give our customers less whiskey, and so long as they don't have a pocket calculator on them, they won't work out that they are paying proportionally more for that whiskey than if we had presented it to them in the UK standard 70 centilitre bottle. This is why on my channel, because I know what poor value it is, I very rarely review 50 centilitre bottles. This is the second time I've done it this year, and the only reason I've done it is because first time round it was Nika from the Barrel which won an OSWA award, the Online Scotch Whisky Awards. You'll find a link down below to that, very useful. If you haven't seen it, please go and check it out. You'll find it very informative. But back to the subject. That was a 50 centilitre bottle, presenting the illusion that good stuff comes in small packages, particularly if you make our whisky bottle, or your whisky bottle as a producer, look like a perfume bottle. So you have little bottles in big packaging, and because it looks small, you know, you're heading towards precious diamond size. As they say, precious things come in small packages. It's not just a flippant remark. It's actually a profound piece of psychology used to manipulate people. And this is why you'll get a luxury designer watch, right, sold to you in a briefcase. I mean, it could go in a box, but they'll sell it to you in a briefcase with a whole load of packaging and physical theatre around it to sell you the idea, probably the illusion, that it's actually a really good quality watch, well made and worth the price you've paid. And it's something that Macallan have certainly latched onto and plundered themselves. Good luck to them. It's part of their business. I'm not buying the products, so I'm not too caught up about it. You know, it's an easy decision for me as a whisky drinker and reviewer. But here we have, if I really wanted to review this whisky because of the signature to it, the quality of the event. Sure, it'll be even better when it's a couple of years older, when it has been matured a little bit longer in refill ex-bourbon casks, or perhaps in a thoroughly rinsed ex-white wine cask, a Riesling cask, for example, or a Chardonnay cask. But in the meantime, the only way I could buy this was as a 50 centilitre bottle. Now, I have been informed by a Patreon supporter on my Patreon channel, because these guys, bless you, are marvellously well informed and are giving me tips. So thank you all you watching Patreon pals. I always appreciate your presence and your comments and your feedback and your personal messages. But I wanted to review this whisky. I have heard that it's now available in 70 centilitre bottles, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. But I want to tell you a little bit more about the mind games and the advantages, I'd say short-term advantages, to producers who are regularly using 50 centilitre bottles. And probably the most notorious, without a doubt, is the Boutique Whisky Company. Lovely bunch of folk. I like them. They're really good enthusiasts, but I never review their products. Never. They're highly theatrical, and I think at times they're bottling good whisky, and at times they're not, like so many independent bottlers out there. So let's examine the psychology of this. It's 50 centilitre bottle, and when you go into a whisky shop, you tend to see the 50 centilitre bottles all in a row behind the counter. And they're a little bit nearer to you and a little bit lower down because it creates psychology. If they were on the top shelf, the bottles would look even smaller. But because they're behind the counter, behind the till, behind the screen, it's creating a little bit of internal retailer theatre that it must be more precious because it's getting this additional security and protection and proximity to members of staff who are at the till serving the customers. Right. So they are at the epicenter of the zeitgeist of that specific whisky shop. Now this creates the illusion that they're somehow more precious. And then you look at the price and you say, actually, that price isn't bad. But the thing is, what you don't do is get out your mobile device, and this is what you should be doing, and this is what I highly recommend you do, and you find out the real price for that whisky. So take the price they're asking for the 50 centilitre bottle, take the price, divide it by 50 and multiply it by 70, or if you're in the USA, multiply it by 75. Then you will get the real price of that whisky. And what will surprise you is just how much the price has jumped. It's roughly 40%. Seriously, 40%. That's significant. But it doesn't end there. You see, when there's less whisky in the bottle, there's less duty to be paid in the bottling. You never hear about that. In 50 centilitre bottles, labels are proportionally smaller. Therefore, you're cutting down on label costs. You're also cutting down on packaging costs if the whisky comes in a box, because that box is simply smaller. It's made using less materials. But it doesn't stop there, because when the producers pass the whisky over to their distributors to distribute within the country and beyond, there is more volume of product, more individual volume of product being distributed in relation to the weight of what's being distributed, in relation to the size of the packaging, the size of the freighting. Therefore, less whisky in a bottle is cheaper to distribute from distillery, from the bottling plant, to the distributors, to the retailers, overseas, to other countries. It's simply cheaper to do, and it's marginal. Fair play, it is marginal. But when you add up all these margins of advantage from smaller, short measure, quote unquote, bottles, what you get is a 78% compounded advantage. And therefore, proportionally, these make more profit for the producer. But the chance is that they are going to put off some of the customers because they don't want 50 centilitre bottles, because they feel like it's a short-changing, which I do. And possibly you do too. I mean, let me know what you think. And also they're going to attract a few novelty customers who maybe don't know much about whisky, but like the price, they're sold in the theatre, and then their personal lack of experience of appreciating a good whisky means that, you know, the result is not what they expected. What they wanted was something convenient, slightly sweetened and bland and palatable, like Glava. That's why liqueurs sell, particularly Glava. Or these flavoured whiskies, you've seen them. Jameson's are doing now. Jameson's orange flavoured whisky. There's worse to come, by the way. There's worse. I'm going to make a prediction here. At some point, Jameson's or another Irish distillery are going to bring out Shamrock flavoured green whisky. It's only a matter of time. People, watch that space. When it happens, remember who told you first. It's the predictability of banality. That's what it is. And the routine nature of novelty. And what you have is the novelty aspect of these smaller bottles. And my conclusion is, when you see them, get out your mobile device, open up your calculator, and before you go anywhere further with your purchasing decisions, take the price on that 50 centilitre bottle, divide by 50, and multiply by 70, or if you're in the United States, multiply by 75, and then look at the real price of that whisky if you had got it in a standard bottle. And this is where it starts to look expensive. Then compare it to the other standard 70 centilitre, or in the USA 75 centilitre bottles in the shelf, and you will find that they are probably delivering far better value to you. Be aware of that. I'm here because, despite the fact that I share, I also care what I share. And yes, I dare to share what I care. And do you know why? Because I know you're there to listen to what I care, to share, and dare to share and care about, etc. I think it's about time I wound up this video. Thank you for watching. Click subscribe if you haven't. It's lovely to see you. It always is. You know, I'm here in the bothy. It's what I do. You know, just chuntering away, head down, getting on with business, reviewing all these whiskies for you from around the world, and hopefully someday beyond. You never know. Remember where you heard that one first. And we'll see you soon, you wonderful, special, marvellous people.